What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about Isaac Newton by James Gleick. I wanted these videos to be reviews and not summaries, but what can you really say about a biography? It's a biography. I also watched a couple of video biographies, and everything they mentioned was also in this book, so I think James Gleick does a pretty nice job of laying it all out here. I think it was the way that Neil deGrasse Tyson spoke about Isaac Newton that led to me reading this book. So this is Isaac Newton we're talking about. If you don't know, he unified the world's conception of motion in the universe. He showed that the force that causes an apple to fall to the earth is the same force that causes the moon to orbit the earth and causes the tides and is responsible for the trajectories of comets. It sounds so obvious now, but in his day, this was an absurd idea, and people let him know it. This was during a formative time in science when we were beginning to do away with supernatural explanations. So the idea that celestial bodies attract each other through some invisible force was crazy, but he was right, and he developed the mathematics to prove that he was right. So he totally changed the way we think about the universe, and a lot of people weren't ready for that. To quote the book, Newton had removed from the realm of metaphysics many questions about the nature of things. My favorite part of the book is when it's showing some of his early axioms that he was drafting, and you recognize the three laws of motion are there. That was pretty exciting. So it's hard to convey what it must have been like for a population to experience such a transformation in their view of the universe. But I think James Gleick does a pretty good job in this book. He covers all the significant events of Isaac Newton's life from birth to death. Everything he did and what people thought about that is covered here. His childhood, his inventing the reflecting telescope and his work in optics, his rejection of the idea of the Trinity, and his eventual overturning of the Cartesian view of the vortices and ether with his discovery of gravity. Most of the stuff in here I didn't know. Newton was pretty secretive and reclusive. So much of the work he did, he didn't publish for many years. Isaac said, "For I see not what there is desirable in public esteem," but when the subject came up again years later, why he kept his papers to himself, he said, "To avoid being engaged in disputes." So he really did not like being engaged in disputes. Yeah, there's a lot of quotes in this book, and they use the Old English style of speaking, so you have to get used to that. It's funny, he could be kind of a dick too. When one of his main rivals died and he took his place as the president of the Royal Society, he had all records of this guy wiped out. So this book, it's about Isaac Newton, but it's also about science. And it made me think of Arthur C. Clarke's quote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And to me, this really highlights what science is all about, which is that you can't be married to certain concepts because they could be overturned at any time. You have to be ready to accept that what you think is simply wrong, kind of like what Einstein would end up doing with Newton. So I really enjoyed reading this book, but honestly, it might have been more time efficient to just watch a couple video biographies. Still, though, I regret nothing. I'm happy to have supported the author, and I did enjoy reading his work. Well, I guess that's about it for this one. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you're interested in Isaac Newton or the historical development of scientific understanding, go out and get Isaac Newton by James Gleick.